Here we have a trade review of ticker symbol CLX. This is the Clorox brand. And this popped up on the scanner. Today's a Monday, so it popped up at the end of Friday, which was right there. And immediately seeing it, I was intrigued by it and wanted to look at it more simply because we see how vertical and how volatile this move was straight up. And if we look down here at the RSI, we can see that it was very, very much overbought. And so it was overextended into that 50 SMA. I felt really comfortable, really good with this continuing lower if it met all the other criteria with support and resistance. And it did. We had, let me get this. There's actually several levels right here. One we could put right there. I say several. It's really two main ones that I saw. So this one we can see it bottoming through here. And then this next level you can kind of see a couple spots there, and then again here and here where price came down to it and bounced. So those two were levels that intrigued me, that I was interested in looking at. And if we zoom in, we see that yes, on our signal day, or the day that we got notified of it on our scanners, it did push up, but it also pushed down and it closed kind of in between those two, which means obviously if it were to trigger, it is going to be back below both of those areas of resistance. So I felt really comfortable with this one. It looked good. It was this was what we would call a river to valley setup. We had support and resistance backing up what the scanners were saying and backing up our theory, which was that this was going to continue lower if we got triggered. That was what our trade was going to be. So on this trade, we wanted to see it break the 138.90 level. So we needed to see it print up here, 138.89. When I say break that level, that's what I mean. I need to see it, even just if it's just 1 penny, I need to see the printed price up here break our trigger. And we got that fairly early in the day. And once we get into the 1 minute here in just a little bit, I'll explain in a little more detail how I traded it and what actually happened on this one, because it was a little bit different. Simply because when it did trigger, it didn't just trigger normally. Like, it didn't just print that 138.89 over here, or like it went from basically like 139 to 138.50. I mean, it jumped down. So we had to enter a little differently, but we'll go over that in just a second. So everything is in place. We felt really good about it. We got notified of it. We like this setup a lot, a river to valley setup, especially with an overextended RSI. Looks really good. And the support and resistance backed it up. And we got entered in fairly early in the first few minutes of the trading day is when this triggered. And then it just became of when do we exit. Now, the ways that I usually go over in these videos and in these reviews, the first one is exiting into previous support or resistance, or begin scaling out. And on this one, it really never got down to a level of support or resistance on the daily chart anyways. And that's what I concerned myself with. Maybe if you wanted to look at pre-market numbers, I'm not sure what those looked like because I don't trade that way, so I'm not going to teach you something that I'm not super familiar with. I know how to do it and everything. It's just not what Armor Trading Systems is based around. So that one really never came into play as far as exiting into a previous resistance level. I guess you could, if you've been trading for any length of time, you know that whole and half dollars are pretty good areas of support and resistance. And this low, actually, it was exactly at 137.5. So if you're going whole and half dollar, that's not something that I would, wholeheartedly recommend. But if you wanted to do that, then it got exactly to a $0.50 number. The other option being this is as laid back and passive as it gets. That's once it triggers, you set your stop and you ride it out throughout the rest of the day. And sometimes you get the big runners and you can adjust your stop to make sure you don't lose money. Or on a day like today, it didn't really run and you just would have closed the day with a little bit of a profit. Could have got, that close is 63 cents below our entry. So it would have been still a pretty decent trade on a $138 stock. The other option being to scalp it. And now we will jump into and I'm going to go ahead and delete these so that we don't get into any confusion on the 1 minute chart. All right, so scalping this, we can see, pre-market was a no-go as far as support and resistance, so don't even worry about looking at that for this one. All right, so 138.9 was our level, which was right there. We needed to see it break, so we needed to see price hit right there. And I'm telling you, at 9:30, this was here at 9:31. It basically opened here, kind of went down, and then just rocketed, like straight down. Never even printed. I mean, there was like a 30 to 40 cent gap that didn't get printed up here, which included our trigger. Now, for me, instead of chasing this and getting filled somewhere way down here, which is what would have happened, I decided, all right, it's still really early in the day. I'm not going to chase. I'm not going to make a stupid decision. So I'm going to see if price pulls back. And if it does, then I'll enter then. And if it goes without me, then that's just something I'm going to have to live with, because I do not want to chase, especially when we're talking like it would have been like a 40 cent or more chase is what it would have been. And that was too much for me. So we did just a couple minutes later pull back, and I got filled right at the tippy top of this candle when it came back and hit the trigger again. And from here, basically, it went straight down, and the low there is 137.89. So basically, exactly $1 is what you could have got in a couple minutes from a scalping standpoint. And that would have been a fantastic trade. Really, really good. Even if you got in somewhere, I don't think there's any way you could have gotten in at the trigger because of the way price moved. But even if you got in somewhere close, like around 138, and that's not really even that close, 138.6, you still would have been pretty good there. And that you'd have only risked, 30 cents or so if you got filled down here. After this point, price did go back up, but we can see that the high of this level right in here is only at like 138 or 139.4, which is 50 cents above our entry. And if you're scalping, 50 cents, you might have gotten stopped out on a $138 stock like this. Might have gotten stopped out. If not, it did come back down and you did have more chance to profit again. So, scalping standpoint, this is why if you are into scalping and that is something that you're interested in, something that you like doing, you have to be careful. You have to follow some strict guidelines where you're getting in. You're not going to chase. You're going to get in at the trigger price. And you also have to always be aware of your stops and your stop losses. Again, an option is to become a member of mine and be active, or just listen to the war room in the mornings. And I go over my stops, which are a lot wider than normally with scalping. So, but you can still use that stop, and your profits may not be as big as a normal scalper, but you will have a controlled risk. So this overall turned out to be a pretty good trade. This was nothing. This is one of those base hit trades that we talk about. Sometimes we get the home run, but this was a base hit kind of a trade, and I was happy to take it and happy to close the day with this trade. So thank you for watching. If you will, please like, share, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you again, and God bless.